All right, so I wanted to make this one a little bit longer. Oh, wait a minute. I don't know. This is about center for me. I don't know if that's centered on the camera or not. Let's just hope it is. If it's not, my bad. I wanted to make this a little bit longer. I've been seeing a lot of podcasts. I listen to podcasts constantly. I kind of wanted to make this a podcast for myself. I'm standing up today because I feel like when I sit down, I'm a little less energetic, and when I'm standing, I'm nice. I'm up here, and I got a lot more energy. Okay, so we are going to stand for this. Now, introvertedness. This is something that I have been fighting with for a long time. Maybe, yeah, I mean, I'm a very introverted person, and I only recently got out of it, and it was kind of because I forced myself to get out of it. So I guess before we go into it, let me just start off by saying that the reason why I wanted to be less introverted was I felt like I wasn't being the best version of myself. I felt like I wasn't interacting with people a lot. I didn't have this sense of comfortability in my own skin. And I feel like that was part of it. I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to feel confident, and I wanted to kind of live up to an ideal version of myself, which was someone who was confident, who was powerful, um, who kind of controlled the room when he walked in. So now there's a secondary reason for why I wanted to be more extroverted in this, and not even why I wanted to be more extroverted, just why I wanted to be less introverted, is because of engineering. It's a lot of group work. It's not. It is solo. It can be solo, but it's usually group work. So I wanted to be better in a group. I felt like if I needed to take lead or take charge of a group, I wanted to be a good leader. And I felt like being an introvert wasn't going to help me with that. Also, another reason, also, of course, another reason was talking to girls, right? If you're very introverted, how are you supposed to get a girlfriend? It's hard. I mean, you're not going to, if you're not reaching out to a bunch of people, if you're not putting yourself out there, how are you supposed to be found, I guess? That's another one. But anyways, I keep looking at my watch because I think I usually have my camera on the watch, but it's not. So again, I'm just hoping this is working out properly. So how did I get out of this introverted phase? Now I don't necessarily. Now I will say that introvertedness is not necessarily like a phase. It's basically just how you get your energy. So in the sense of how I say that I got out of my introvertedness, it's not in the sense of this part, which is introvertedness, they gain their energy from kind of alone time, from being with themselves, while an extroverted gains their energy by talking to people. Now, I will say that's kind of changed for me a little bit, and I do tend to get energy from talking to people now, but I also still have that fundamental base of I most of the time I gain energy by alone time, staying in my room, doing something completely alone. Just leave me alone. But again, there's also other parts to it, like you're very shy, blah, 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 like whatever it is. And I wanted to get away from that specific part, not necessarily the energy gathering. So my method for doing so was a little bit more of me taking advantage of the environment that I was in because I read a lot of books and all this stuff. I knew that your environment plays a big role in how you are as a person. I mean, I know some people would say that your environment doesn't affect you, but actually, one second, I'm gonna go close my door. Okay, I'm back. I'm in my house. My parents don't know I do videos, so I just like, oh shit, someone's coming up. Like, close my door. Anyways, what was I saying? I was basically I'm taking advantage of the environment that I'm in, or I'm taking advantage of forcing change. Right? Change happens. You change because you need to change, not necessarily because you want to change. That's usually how it goes. And even when you want to change, the way that you change is by forcing yourself to change, not really something that was like, oh, I want to be more extroverted in this now. Now I'm more extroverted. It's like, no, you have to deliberately change things about yourself or change things about how you approach things. And that is what makes you more extroverted in this. So what I did was, it was my freshman year of college, and I had became like decent friends with my resident assistant. To be fair, my entire floor in college was very active and talking to each other. We were all pretty close. But my resident assistant, I was like, wow, this is we kind of talked, and he asked me if, what do you think about being a resident assistant? And I didn't want to do it, and I didn't do it at the time. But as I kind of went through the rest of my freshman year, and experienced I experienced this isolation, even though I was with so many people. It was kind of a combination of, freshman year, there's a lot of hookups and all that stuff. I wasn't part of that. I was kind of, and there was a lot of cliques, and I wasn't really a part of any large cliques or anything like that. You had a bunch of people partying, and I didn't really like the party, so I kind of felt pretty isolated. And I had friend group, but I had friends. Okay, I'm just saying I didn't feel like I was the main one of the main people on the floor, the main personalities, let's say. And so I'd go to the gym by myself, whatever. I kind of embraced the fact that I wasn't so, when someone saw me, they would say, "Oh, hey," but they wouldn't go like, "Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. What's up? Blah blah blah. Are you going to the thing tonight? Blah blah." Like it was just like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And so I kind of embraced that. I go to the gym, I come back late at night, I go out skateboard by myself, I'd go to the dining hall with someone. At the time, not really. Usually, it was kind of with myself or my roommate. And I just didn't really enjoy that, right? And then I go to class, and I didn't really talk to anyone, and no, I just felt like I was isolating myself, and I didn't want to do that. So my freshman year ended, and we go into my sophomore year. So my sophomore year started, and I didn't apply for an RA. So I kind of figured that I didn't have another chance to do so, and I would have to go the entire sophomore year not being an RA. And at that point, what's another 2 more years, junior and senior year? Like, whatever, I'll just do my own thing. But actually, coincidentally enough, once my first semester ended in sophomore year, I was about to enter into my second. It was the last couple of weeks of the first semester. I saw a poster about trying to apply. Like they need more mid year. They need more RAs. So come be a mid year hire. And so I ended up doing it. I ended up applying, and I don't even know how I got the job, to be honest, because I felt like I wasn't very qualified. And I did ask my boss later on, after I knew him for a couple years, like, why did you hire me? And he was saying how I had a very interesting and unique perspective on things, and that was probably because I was an engineer, whilst most of the other RAs were like um, they were different. They were much less technology or STEM focused, so they had more personality. They had a kind of a common personality, whereas obviously engineering personalities are quite a bit different, for good or for worse. I don't really know. It depends who you're talking to. And again, I would like to say that the reason why I became an RAA, or maybe it was B, but A, was because of free housing, but B because it was an environment where I was forced to talk to people, right? I had to talk and engage with people on my floor. And I had to, and I figured that there would be instances, and I figured that that would lead to some embarrassing instances that would help me kind of grow as a person. So I went into this mid-year, this kind of weird half year of being an RA, and my floor met me, and it was quite interesting actually. They were fresh. I was actually RAing for freshman boys, and I was a sophomore. So they weren't too far off from me, whatever. But it was very interesting. They were quite the personality. They kind of opened me up a little bit. Um, they kind of got me comfortable with talking to people, because it was constantly like, I was the main. When I was in the hall, right, it was me. Like, oh shit, so and so's here, and we but became quite good friends. So it wasn't like, oh no, the RA is here. It's like, oh, the RA is here. What's up? So that was pretty interesting. But really, I think what actually truly broke my introvertedness was what followed. So after that half year ended and I was going into my junior year, I found out that the first 2 weeks before school starts, RAs go and they go for training. And during our training, one of the weekends is kind of RA camp. And RA camp is where you go, and it's basically team bonding. And one of the exercises that they did was a dance and singing contest. It was more of a it was more of dance and lip singing. I don't really know. I forgot what the term is for that, but it's dance and lip singing. And I was very, very, very. You couldn't not participate unless you had a really good reason not to. There was no recording or anything, and there was no obviously no making fun of people, and everyone had to do it, and it was all really dumb. And just having to a kind of bond more with my my coworkers, and then b seeing their personalities and kind of seeing the other side that's not an engineering personality, getting to understand what that's kind of like. And then C, putting myself in a situation that's extremely embarrassing and having to just go and do it, even if you are really embarrassed. And I didn't do well. Like I danced and all that. It was really bad. But there something about it, something with that extreme embarrassment that happened. Even though nothing happened, no one made fun of me, nothing of the sort. I did my little dancing and yada yada yada. But I just felt a lot less nervous. Like basically everything was, well, it can't be as bad as that. um, so talking in front of, because I forgot to mention, but in my freshman year, there was an English class where I had to do a presentation, and I fumbled so bad. I was so bad at presentations. I'd go and do a presentation, and I get so red, and someone asked me a question, it was over. And now it was time for a presentation, and I'd be like, well, this can't really be as bad as me dancing in front of about 120 people and not being good at all at it. Like it just can't be that bad. So so yeah, it kind of broke me out of it. I was still very nervous. There was a lot of different scenarios that happened later on. Um, but it became an instance of me being an RA. There was a lot of different scenarios that would just kind of cause me to just embrace this this shyness that I have, or embrace, not embrace, but remove this shyness that I had. Right? I had a couple instances where I had to call the police because some residents were a bit intoxicated and weren't very responsive. I had instances where you have to like go and knock on a person's door and tell them to quiet down, which I found to be very embarrassing at first during quiet hours. And it was fine. It was whatever. I had a few instances where uh, oh, there was like passion presentations where we'd have to go to my staff and I'd have to go ahead and talk about something that I was very passionate about and make a little presentation about it. There's just so many things. There in the beginning of the year, you had to introduce yourself to the entire floor. So not only did you have to introduce yourself to the entire floor, but you also had to introduce yourself to the entire building. So there would be a building meeting, hundreds of people, and you would go up to the front of, I guess it was a classroom at the time, like one of the big auditoriums basically, and introduce yourself and talk about what you enjoyed, and like, I can't wait to uh, be with you guys for the year or whatever, it doesn't matter. And then I did RAing for 2.5 years because of the mid-year, and so I had to do this multiple times. Right, I had, when our floor meetings happened, we were forced to engage with our students. I had to take them, it was kind of dumb, but I had to take them to lunch and dinner as a group, and I had to literally force myself to talk to these people so that they'd feel more comfortable. um, and then I had to do like exercisings for building floor engagement and floor bondingness. It was just constantly doing these things that forced me to be not only in a leadership position, but in a position where I was the center of focus. Sometimes you're not the leader, but you're the center of focus because maybe you're doing something dumb. But every single person's attention was on me. And that forced me to break out of this shell of nervousness. I also, in my RAing years, went into a couple of relationships that went pretty terribly. I dated some coworkers too. And it just, sometimes you do a bunch of stupid stuff and other stupid things are not as stupid, and it's just not as bad. You're just like, oh, whatever. um, but basically, that whole ran to say that you need to find ways to force yourself to get out of a state that you're currently in that you want to be out of. Now, this is not something of like, oh, I'm not nervous when talking to people anymore, but there are things that I do know that I never would have done. Like sometimes when I walk to the gym, I'll go ahead and compliment someone's like what someone's wearing or ask them a question about how they're doing the lift. Like there's these really strong guys at the gym that I want to kind of I'm focusing on getting a little bit stronger. So I'll go to them and be like, well, how do you do like what's your routine? Like how are your squats? So how are you doing 315 pounds on your squats as a warm up? Like how did you do that? How did you get to that? Or I'd go and I'd talk to some girls and ask them, questions or whatnot. I mean, I went to a bar once, which is something I don't even do. Right, but I went to a bar to celebrate with some of my buddies for graduation, and I asked a girl out. Like my freshman year self would not have expected that. Now, did I do it instantly? No. It took me quite a lot of build up to get to that point of asking her or even going up to her and approaching. But dude, it's the sheer fact that I did that. Like, that's not something that I would have done in my freshman year. Since then, I've kind of led a lot of our projects. Most people look, because probably the RAing forced me to be a type of leader. Most people that I go into a project with, I'm the leader, right? I'm the one guiding everyone what to do, kind of making sure everything's running properly, everything's organized, whatever. I've also had so many engagements with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. I've gotten pretty good at understanding people's body languages and understanding when they're uncomfortable and when they are uncomfortable and yada yada yada. So it's been very powerful, this fact that I've put myself in a position that forced me to turn myself from an introverted person, even though I'm not really I don't want to use that word, but a shy and self isolated person, to a more outgoing, outspoken, self confident individual. So, and sometimes, you don't have to do it in a sense of, oh, I have to go ahead and be an RA. Obviously, that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is to say that you put yourself in scenarios that force change. So that could be as simple as when you walk outside and you pass someone, you force yourself to talk. You just force yourself to say something. They have a dog. Oh, cute dog. And just keep walking after that. Whatever. Or you go and you see someone and you just try to. One of the exercises I've been trying to do lately and I haven't been doing enough of is whenever I pass someone, even if I don't go up to them, at the very least, I have to in my head find something to compliment them on. Even if I don't tell them it, I at least have to have it so that when I start practicing actually approaching someone and saying something nice, it's not necessarily a girl. That's not what I'm talking about, but like just having conversation starters to have in my head and be able to develop them quickly in an instant. Like that's something I want to be better at. And so you have to find things that kind of force you to do this stuff. So maybe that's joining a club that is kind of forces you to divulge information about yourself every week. Like maybe it's like or maybe not about yourself, but just force you to talk. So maybe it's like a book club where every week you have to talk about something that you liked about the book or something. I don't know, something like that. That's like really valuable stuff. Like if you're in college, you should find something that forces you to be a bit more engaging. I'm trying to think of another example that I can give that I'm kind of trying to work on now. Oh, I guess another thing that I started doing to also kind of improve that ability to talk to people is I started inviting people that I knew from high school 4 years ago at this point, 5 years ago, minimum. Like if they're around, asking them to hang out and just kind of having conversations with them and talking to them, going and doing stuff with them and all that stuff. It's been quite rewarding. This ability of mine to now be more extroverted, to be wanting to talk to other people has really allowed me to kind of network in a way. But it's really allowed me to be a more confident person. Like I never would have expected myself to go and start recording videos and especially not record videos of myself. Like maybe I would have screen recorded my stuff, but to have a video of literally looking at a camera and talking the entire time and having it posted for other people to see, insane work. So I guess this is a little call to action to yourself, not necessarily being extrovertedness, whatever it is that you're trying to do, you need to create a change in your life that forces you to change. It's basically forced evolution or forced adaptation, whatever you want to say. You got to do it because you're not going to. It's like that saying goes: you're not going to change if nothing changes. You got to change something for you to change. So I'm gonna leave it off on that. See ya and good luck.